Hi guys, welcome back to another video on my newly rebranded channel. I rebranded from Plan to Go Amy to Romance Boulevard to better reflect the content I'm making, which is obviously, as you can tell, book content. So today we have another book review and I am so excited to review this book. It has been on my Amazon wishlist for like 2 to 3 months ever since I saw the cover on TikTok, and I heavily judge the book by its cover because it is so freaking cute. And the book was amazing too. It's the first that I've read of this subgenre in romance. This is Cowboy Casual by Holly Renee. So as you can tell, this is cowboy romance. I've never read cowboy romance before. This cover is so cute. Character art, so cute too. So this book follows Blair Monroe. We have Blair Monroe and we have Colt Calloway. He's obviously the cowboy. This is second chance romance as well as single father with a young daughter romance. So those are like the two major tropes in this. So the gist of the story is basically starts with Blair Monroe finding out that her fiance cheated on her with his secretary, and her fiance and his family were heavily involved with her father, who is a senator. I think they like donated a lot to his campaign and like were heavily involved. And she worked for her father. I think she worked, I don't even know what she did, maybe in like the PR world, kind of like making sure his indiscretion sort of didn't get out there to the press and things like that. And so she goes to confront her fiance at his work, and he just sort of like, let's not make a scene here. And that was like, you should let her make a scene. You're the one who cheated on her. So she ends up breaking off the engagement and goes back to Willow Grove, which is where she was raised by her mother and grandmother. Now, her mother died, I think, over 10 years ago from cancer. And then 10 years ago is when she left Willow Grove. So she hasn't been back to Willow Grove in 10 years. Now, the reason why she left, we learn later on, is because her father blackmailed Colt Calloway, who she was dating like 10 years ago, kind of because they had helped, his family had helped her grandmother by co-signing on a lease, so her grandmother on a loan, so her grandmother could still afford the property she was living on, which was a strawberry farm. So her father had come and said she needs to go to college, and she didn't want to go. So he blackmailed Cole Calloway by saying like, I don't remember exactly what the blackmail was, but something to the effect that like his family would lose the ranch, and he didn't want that. So he ends up pushing her to go to be with her father and to go to college with her father, saying that she'll have better opportunities there. And I think he also threatened her grandmother with like a custody battle. So that's sort of what happened. She comes back 10 years later, is a little bit apprehensive about reconnecting with him just because of what happened, because she doesn't know what her father did. And we only learn, like, I think, like, at the third quarter, we learn what happens. Like, we know ahead of time a bit, but she only learns about, I want to say, 3/4 into the book. So what ends up happening, we also have forced proximity, by the way. That is another major trope in this book, and I'm a sucker for forced proximity. So at one point, what ends up happening is her grandmother's house ends up springing a leak, and it's really bad. Her grandmother goes to temporarily live with his parents at his parents' house, but she ends up still staying at her grandmother's house. He goes to see her grandmother's house, realizes what's happened, is like to her, you can't stay here, there's like mold and stuff. She's like, no, it's fine. He's like, no, really, you can't stay here, like, I'm not giving you that option. The only options are you either go stay with your grandmother at my parents' house, or you come with me at my house with like just me and my daughter. She's a little bit apprehensive, obviously, about truly reconnecting with him, but she decides, since he's not really giving her any other options, he's like, I'll pick you up, like literally put you over my shoulder, carry you out of this house. She ends up deciding to go live with him, and that's where the forced proximity starts. And I am, like I said, a sucker for forced proximity. It is one of my favorite tropes. So she ends up going to live with him, and she actually really connects with his daughter. She started connecting with his daughter when he was attempting to call her grandmother, because he's kind of close with her grandmother, and her grandmother is one of the people that helps take care of his daughter sometimes. He was attempting to call her grandmother to see if she could pick up his daughter from school, because his daughter was sick, and her grandmother had left her phone at the house, and so she ended up picking up instead, and was like, I can go pick up your daughter. He's like, no, it's okay. Like, I'll try to, like, don't worry. She's like, no, I can do it. I can help you. So that's when she kind of connects with his daughter, and he sees that. And then she connects more with his daughter when she, like, temporarily moves in with him because of the leak. And this book was literally so good. Second chance romance, the first ever second chance romance book I read, I was not a fan of. It was from the Off Campus series. But I would say this one and the second chance romance book I read, which I've done I think a review on. It's I believe Deck the Hall by Cam Gillis, so you can check that out. It should be somewhere on this channel. But honestly, that one and this one are great examples of second chance romance. And I love for like the past 10 years, throughout the 10 years, we learn, like, we don't see what happens in the 10 years completely, but he's mentioned multiple times that, like, he's never stopped loving her, like, in those 10 years. And I just love that when it's like he's always loved her, or like the yearning, like he's never stopped loving her. I just think like those are like such beautiful things. And that's what made this book so enjoyable. It wasn't like they both stopped loving each other and then like reconnected. Like I think she also truly never stopped loving him, although she tried to, because he kind of like pushed her away because her father blackmailed him. So about 3/4 into the book, she learns, like we knew a little bit in advance, but she learns like what happened because he fully explains it to her. And then she kind of just is like so upset with her father, but she's kind of like still like upset with him because she's like, you still didn't give me like a choice. I, in fairness, don't think she should have been upset with him, just because I think it wasn't fair. Like he was put in a hard place, between, like, I think the saying is between a rock and a hard place. And like, so he did, and he was also like I think 18 at the time when he was being blackmailed. So like an 18-year-old doesn't have the same, is not in the same place as where he is now. Like in the present day in the book, he is 29, so I think he would probably react to it slightly differently. But then one of my favorite scenes comes when her father comes back with her fiance, again past the 3/4 mark of the book, and it's like, you have to come back, like you have to, like, this is just like one mistake that your fiance made, basically. Like, you can't throw everything away for one mistake. First of all, a guy cheating on you, yes, you throw away everything when a guy cheats on you. I'm just saying, it's not just like one little mistake, it's pretty major. And so she keeps saying no, and then she keeps like, they kind of like, his father is also on the front porch of his house, as well as her and him. They're kind of telling him to like get off the property, and he's just like really, her father's really trying to be like, come back, and she's like, no. And then her fiance ends up speaking and saying something negative about him or about her, like I can't remember exactly what he says, and then he punches her ex-fiance. And I'm like, I love those moments when you just like, when they punch or they like give it to them. And then her father ends up trying to threaten her again by like, because of the loan and everything. And he's like, I'm gonna do something and like go to the bank. And then he ends up coming forward. So he ends up saying like, actually, there's nothing you can do. The loan is fully paid off. And she's like, what? How? She's like, I worked really, really hard I worked really, really hard to help your grandmother be able to pay it off. I also sold some of the land from our ranch to be able to help my grandmother, like your grandmother, pay it off. And she's like, you did all that for my grandmother? And he's like, no, I did all that for you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love when they do that. That's so good when he's like, I did all that for you. So that was such a beautiful moment. And then they end up deciding to like kind of truly, after this situation, which I think she'd already decided before that, but they truly decide to make it work and to be a couple. And then at one point, I think it's in the chapter right before the epilogue, his daughter, whose name is Ruby, ends up asking, where is it? Ends up asking something to Blair, and saying something and saying like, oh, like, will you be like my mother? And then Blair was like, well, if that's what you want. And so then she's like, yes, that is what I want. And so then they end up, like, I think he ends up asking her like fully, like, okay, like truly, like, what are we? We're making this work. She's like, I think I just got promoted. And that was just kind of like a funny line. Honestly, such a good book. I would probably give this 5 out of 5 stars. So fantastic. I also love that it's self-published, because supporting self-published authors is so great. She has another one in the series coming out in May, and I cannot wait to order that on paperback. I'm not pre-ordering it because I think it's only available to pre-order for Kindle Unlimited. It will be on paperback probably release day, and I love my paperback books. And it also has a cute cover. The couple is teased in this book. I think it's going to follow his brother and one of the friends that she makes from Willow Grove. So I am so excited for the next book in this series. And I might buy some more cowboy romance. So if you have some cowboy romance series that you would recommend for me to read, you can put that in the comments because I would love to read that. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to follow me, you can follow me by going to @romanceblvd on Instagram. That's for Romance Boulevard. And then Romance Boulevard fully spelled out on TikTok. And that is all for this video. Bye!